Okay. Welcome all for the third session. Today's topic is learning and unlearning. I'm eagerly looking forward. Sir, Mukesh sir, it's up to you now.
Thank you, friends, for joining again in this meeting of self-inquiry, learning together. And today's topic is really significant. What is learning and unlearning? And it seems that, as Krishnaji would say, the whole life is a movement of learning. And so, what kind of learning he's talking about? Uh, because the learning with which we are familiar is based on memory, accumulation. This is what we are taught in schools, colleges, university, lot of brain work. So the learning is mostly based on the brain activity, how efficiently you are able to memorize and reproduce from that memory. And that has its place in our life, in science, in technology. But in this meeting, we are going to explore, is there a different kind of learning which does not depend on memory and accumulation? Is there a learning which has a transformative effect, which means there is a deep transformation in the psyche? Is there a learning which does not depend on time? So, what is that learning which is deeply unlearning? Unlearning of whatever false notions, beliefs the mind has accumulated, whether through conditioning, a religious conditioning, cultural conditioning, or through our experiences, the images, the whole past baggage. So, what is that learning which is deeply unlearning? It seems that the real transformation is unlearning your whole self, unlearning the known. So I'm just raising some questions to be explored together as a friend. And I would like to read a little bit from this material. It is from the book Krishnamurti to Himself. I have shared with all of you. So he's talking about what does it mean to have a brain that is free from all the turmoil of life, all the pain, all the anxiety, and the endless sorrow? Is it ever possible to have a totally free mind, free brain, not shaped by influences, by experience, and the vast accumulation of knowledge? Knowledge is time, learning means time. To learn to play the violin takes infinite patience, months of practice, years of dedicated concentration. Learning to acquire a skill, learning to become an athlete, or to put together a good engine, or to go to the moon, all that requires time. But is there anything to learn about the psyche, about what you are, the intricacies of one's reactions and actions, the hope, the failure, the sorrow and joy? What is there to learn about? As we said, in certain area of one's physical existence, gathering knowledge and acting from knowledge requires time. Is it that we carry that same principle, extend that same movement of time into the psychological world? There too, we say we must learn about ourselves, about our reactions, our behavior, our relations and depressions. We think all that requires time too. You can learn about the limited, but you cannot learn about the unlimited. And we try to learn about the whole field of the psyche and say that needs time. But time may be an illusion in that area. It may be an enemy. Thought creates the illusion, and that illusion evolves, grows, and extends. So, friends, here Krishnaji is questioning this whole notion of learning through time with regard to oneself. That has a place in the physical world, but in learning about oneself in psyche, does that require time? Is time an illusion psychologically? And he's saying, is there anything to learn? Because whenever we put a goal to learn, we introduce time. In a way, mind puts a goal in the future that I will be more free, I will be having more maturity, understanding after some time. So, in that sense, is this a mechanism of the mind to postpone the transformation which is here and now? Is it that we are avoiding to look deeply now or to listen deeply now? So, in a deep sense, is there a learning in seeing, in observing? When we are observing ourselves, what is happening? Is that a different kind of learning in which there is no accumulation? When we are watching a bird, an animal, or anything in nature, in that watching, what is learning happening? Isn't it that the mind stops accumulating at the moment of pure observation? When I am fully present in this observation, is it that the time stops to gather anything or to compare, to evaluate? Perhaps it happens just for a moment. And again, we want to capture that moment through memory. And that is, I feel it's also human. And is there a learning in deep listening when we are listening fully, when we are present with all our being, when we are present with undivided attention? Is there a different kind of learning happening, which is basically unlearning? Our whole past baggage is not reinforcing itself. The me is not pressing itself. So, in that transformative learning, is the me silent? Is the me silent in this moment while we are sitting together? Perhaps in different parts of the world. and listening to one another. In this listening, in this presence, is there a me? Is my mind very active in comparing, in judging? And can I watch this whole activity of the mind? That means I'm not suppressing it and I'm also not indulging in it. There is an attention to it. So, is the quality of attention this learning, which is unlearning? Because whenever I put a goal, an effort to learn, the mind has returned with its mechanism to really postpone, to avoid, to face what is now. So, is this movement of attention learning here and now? When there is no sense of this heavy burden of becoming, this over concern to achieve something, to become something, that is the cause of burnout in most of our lives. So, why do we carry this burden of becoming all the time? Is it possible just to drop it here and now and just live this joy of being without becoming anything, being absolutely nothing? Isn't it? There is a great joy in this. When all this heavy drive to become comes to an end. And it comes to an end when there is this total presence or attention, when there is this stillness, a deep stillness, when there is this deep love. In this deep love, there is no becoming, there is nothing to achieve or prove or any sense of separation that I have something to give to you. We are all one in this space of love. So, is this love a deep learning, which is unlearning, emptying oneself? And perhaps this process of learning is a lifelong emptying of oneself because we are filled with so much, consciously as well as unconsciously. And it seems that there is all the time cleansing of oneself, emptying of oneself through pure presence, pure attention. So, friends, let us very slowly explore this question of learning and unlearning, which is closely connected with inner transformation. Thank you. So, so when we are exploring a question together in a meditative self inquiry, what is it that we are learning together?
To me, process of it's the process of just being aware of somebody's saying something, talking, and then I'm listening. And I'm here, right? So I'm also noticing I'm also distracted. I'm aware of that too. I'm also aware of that there is something else I need to do after the call, or during the call, before we came into the call. So there is those thoughts, those vibrations, that is still there a little bit to settle down before you come. So I'm this is the process. I'm I'm aware of everything. I'm also looking outside. I'm aware of everything, but I'm not registering anything. I'm also, some of this, as we speak, I'm also thinking, is that true for me? The question comes, there's that inquiry happening. But the question also, I mean, this is again me, how I'm feeling. I'm just trying to put it in words. When the question comes, but I mean, who defined limited? Who defined unlimited? Why am I calling this knowledge? Somebody told me this is limited. Somebody told me this is unlimited. How did that, I gave that word, and then that stuck in my memory as this is limited. Well, that's me. That's the process. It's this process. There is of everything. Not just in this 90 minutes, but outside 90 minutes or everywhere. And it's happening simultaneously, the learning and unlearning. Because if I say unlearn, who is that unlearning? That comes into being, right? If I say learn, again, without that memory, then why even learn? All this question thought immediately jumps in as soon as I put that question. So I just leave it at that process of aware of everything that's happening.
For me, the word learn or learning implies something new, basically. Yeah? I mean, why do I learn? I mean, I want to, I mean, acquire information about something new. But if learning means something new, it means like the old, the known has to be quiet. So I think, and that's very often, especially like in a dialogue, it's like a difficult thing to do. I mean, you hear somebody else speaking, but the old is active. Yeah, your thoughts are active, coming from the past, from the known. So really learning, like coming in your question, is like, what does it mean to learn together? I think it means for me that my thoughts coming from the known are quiet, and I'm open to something I don't know yet, to something new. And then kind of the question is, what happens to that new? I mean, if you don't accumulate, it just lives in that moment only. So learning and being in the moment seems to be contradictory almost, I find, but yeah.
So one of the one of the questions for me is, am I free to listen, or is my past interfering with that freedom to listen? So that's perhaps obviously it's always interfering, because as you speak, I'm trying to compare what I have accumulated over the past. I'm judging. I'm kind of saying yes to this and no to that. So in a way, I cannot be free from that. And that's perhaps, I can see the limitation of it, because what I think I'm bound by the past. I mean, I think it says the lack of freedom to see something that new potentially is bounding. So the question for me is, how could I? It's not like an effort, but how could I be silent and listen without the past coming in and interfering?
I'll quickly jump in. So to me, that process, it sounds like a practice to me, that I'm trying to be, trying to aware of this past, aware of this baggage, right? But I'm aware of it. That's it. There, I just stop it there. I don't want to, whether it's my mind is silent, or I don't even get my thought come into this. And that's where, when learning and then being in the moment contradict itself, because that learning, we are trying to make it as an end goal, or some sort of, again, an action. That's when it contradicts itself to me. I just want to quickly, it's not a practice, it's just process of, as soon as you're aware of that my past known came into being, you are aware. Yes, but there is no action required. I don't want to be silent. Whether it's silent, it's fine. If not silent, it's fine. That is, it is. don't know, when you have a minute, maybe when you are reading, it's where it's still, I'm not really liking that unlimited word as well. Unlimited cannot know limited, etc. That what we were reading there. And my thought, my mind immediately tried to jump into, is there limited? There is unlimited. I mean, why is, all this coming into being? So I'm just.
So can we say that the learning as we experience it or know it is actually limited, and the whole field of time is limited. So can we learn about what is beyond time? Can we learn about what is beyond me, actually? This I, you, and all that notions. So instead of using the word unlimited, we can use this word. What is there to learn about the timeless, about what is beyond the psychological time?
Yep.
It's like an urgency. Our friend is saying, just see. If your mind introduces time again and again, then there is no end to time. You are in that spiral. It just a very passionate invitation from that teacher. But how do I listen to it? Can I listen to it without the activity of thought? This is the challenge. Now thought is saying limited, unlimited, this binary, this duality. Even don't go into that. Can I be just present and listen with this sense? I really don't know. When this sense is there, deep sense, I really don't know, then there is no interference of thought, whether it is possible or not possible. Yeah, it is something I really don't know. So can I stay with this in this field of not knowing? Not as a goal, but okay, being open to it.
Yeah, I like that, because that beyond me, because trying to know me is endless. Me. My ideas, that's constant. I'm aware of it. It's endless. But when I say beyond me, beyond time, yeah, that's the unknown.
But let us also look at this, our daily life. Say I observe a reactivity in my relationship. I observe a pattern of reactivity. I think this is universal. In all of us, there is a pattern of reactivity. Perhaps when we didn't come in contact with the teachings, or when we were not into this self-inquiry, it was something normal. We say, oh, yeah, there was no questioning about it. But once we start paying attention to it, seeing the danger of it, then a questioning comes about this pattern. oh, why this pattern is being repeated? I meet a person, it may be very close, and again this mind moves into this reactivity without any effort, just it repeats itself. So now I am curious because I have started observing it. Is it inevitable, this reactivity, this pattern to repeat itself? So I'm just wondering, I'm inquiring, watching this reactivity, is there an end to that pattern or any pattern in our life? So that could be a deep learning and unlearning. If a pattern dissolves, dies, is that happening in our life? Let's ask very pertinent question. Because sometimes when we talk about timeless, beyond time, it's very easy to escape into a mystical dimension. I'm not saying that is something futile. That is very deep. But we should not miss our daily life. What is happening in our relationship? What is that pattern which is dominant in my life? It could be anything. It could be a pattern of smoking or any other indulgence or any attachment or identification. So what does it mean to learn and unlearn about this pattern, which is the me?
Is it another way of saying, can one be free of conflict? Of our own conflict, the conflict within the mind?
What would you say, Donna?
Well, when you first did your reading and talking, I just noticed that there was just a presence and no problems. There were no problems when it was just listening. It was just free space to just be. And then when Chandra was just mentioning how his mind was processing everything, it seemed like that's where the conflict was in the mind. And I could relate to it in my own experience also. That even though, I have the fortunate life of not trying to get anywhere, that I have given up that kind of idea that I have to become something. So there's a lot of freedom there, but still the mind just comes in as just a troublemaker, basically. It's just making stuff up, just making problems. As you mentioned about being in conflict or in reactivity with others, there's certain people in my experience that the mind just loves to argue. Whatever they say, the mind wants to say something opposite. It's just bantering. And to be, your question is, to what is it to end something, right? It's just to drop it, just to see that it's just it's feeding the mind, basically feeding the ego to not drop it. So the urgency is just to, can you just drop it, to end it, quit following it. Or identifying with it. It's probably a better word, right? Not to identify as that.
Yeah, and I think what prevents us from just dropping it is this almost immediate reactive mind coming in, right? It is this, you can, I mean, I really, just now, our start of the dialogue, and you mentioned it as well, for me, it was also here, presence. It was, you listen, there was real listening, and then it doesn't take long. and there's some reactive mind coming in, and to watch this and to be just to see it. And that seems sometimes it's possible to just see it, and sometimes you really make the reactive mind stronger by thinking it through even more. And it's unclear to me, not just here now in the dialogue, but in my daily life, it's unclear why it strengthens itself so much, this reactive mind. And sometimes it's not, sometimes it just dies down, and it's, to me, it's totally unclear why it happens sometimes this way and other times not.
For us, at least, who are kind of into questioning things, reacting to our reactions itself is something that we observe. That oh yeah, I shouldn't react, and that's, of course, the knowledge of what we learn with the Krishnamurti acting. That's also past. Can we just be aware of that, I guess, is a challenge of the question. Because any kind of a reaction, it's a self-strengthening mechanism. I think it requires somebody to be in a position for it to gain strength. And when the opposition drops, then it could become weaker. When you ask the question, what is the pattern that is dominant in my life, I'm able to identify a lot of those. Whether it's my relationship with my the who are close to me, my wife, my children, and how I relate to them, and what are some of the repeated patterns. To the question of what is there to learn or unlearn, I think so. I'm kind of drawing a blank in the sense there's really nothing that can be accumulated about that, right? It is so beyond identifying those. There's really nothing. I stop there. Because I think if I'm kind of trying to go in the direction of, like, how is my past, what parts of the past, or maybe my childhood, I don't know how people, my parents, treated, and trying to make those connections, that seems like an endless, exhausting exercise.
Yeah. It is true that when we observe a pattern in our life, the first reaction is to change it. So mind reacts that how can I end it because it is painful or it leads to conflict. So now the question is, can I relate or can I observe this pattern without having a conflict with it? Because any conflicting relationship, which is this my concern to end it or do something about it, that it's like living with conflict, what Donna mentioned also. So how is it possible? I'm just wondering that to observe a pattern, to see all the implications of it, and not be in conflict with it, not to make it a problem, though it is a problem, but not to make a problem, a living problem out of it, though it sounds contradictory. But how to approach any problem without turning it into a problem?
Can we say that we remain with what is? Suppose whether it is fear, anger, or something. So when you remain with what is will flower and wither away. But you want to alter what is and change it into what should be. Suppose I am violent, I am chasing non-violence, which is a idea or abstraction, which is a non-fact. So I am avoiding what is, which is that I am violent or I am angry or I am in sorrow, whatever it is. So if you remain with what is, that what is will flower and wither away. This is I am using Krishnaji's expression.
And I see that.
Yes, Akhilji, yes.
Yes.
Please speak.
Yeah, I see that how to approach this problem of conflict without turning it into a problem. For when I look at that sentence, I see that when I try to observe it, observe my pattern of thinking, and try to change it or move it, whatever thing comes is a thought. Again, I need to understand that I cannot go anywhere with thinking. First I should see that I am always going into the pattern of thinking. Not observing. Even when I try to observe, again that knowledge is coming back. So is there observation without any chattering or words? So is it that first I need to see the chattering or the words, then the images, the knowledge is taking place all the time, instead of again trying to focus or attention and all these things, again the images are coming.
I want to also share like what came to my mind. So what I felt is like we have these patterns because we are comfortable in those patterns. Like I was thinking about my relationships. There are patterns. It works. Yes, there are problems, um, but it's kind of comfortable. So what listening asks us is to bring something new into those relationships, right? So that's where the I felt like that's where the resistance is coming, because I felt like I don't really know, like if I totally listen or to the moment, like how that relationship is going to change or what new things are going to come there. But that is the purpose of living, right? So we don't really want to, even though it's something comfortable, we don't really want to live like a machines. So it came to me that instead of compartmentalizing, okay, my relationships and my daily living and this meditation, I had to bring that all those things to this meditation so that I am open to something new in those relationships.
It also seems like the thinking and the reactivity and the conflict, um, and everything we said, like the reactivity to the reactivity, you know, they're trying to change it. It all just separates us from something, from that kind of silence, the quiet mind. That, you know, the quiet is always there, but it's so rudely covered up, so quickly covered up with thinking, and then maybe that's what we just have to recognize, is that the quiet is there, maybe more subtle than the noisy mind, or the trying to get somewhere, trying to accomplish something, like you said in the talk, trying to achieve something, which keeps postponing that, maybe the realization that silence or quiet is really what is that undivided whole, and that we can know that quiet, just like we know, just the same way we take our oxygen one breath at a time. It's just always there if you're still, if you just be still. Maybe that's the ultimate postponement, is we just don't want to be still.
We don't want to be still and continue living. I mean, our actions, right? So that's where the conflict is coming. It's just to go into a bit more, just so somebody, we talked about the pattern and dropping the pattern and or transforming into something or creating something new. Again, that's a pattern as well, right? And then you see that pattern and then you move. There is, maybe that's the way of living, that's the art of living, that there is not, there's no recording of anything, but still, you're giving the right stroke but still sailing through the boat, but not really, because you're moving forward with the right stroke, because that's needed. The stroke is needed so that you can row enough so that the boat can move forward. You sail through, but not stuck into the deep penetration of it. If somebody has a strong 20-year past of a bad relationship or painful relationship, I don't think that mindset can create or see anything new. There is so much fear, there is so much angry, there is so much mind. So if all that we call it as a pattern, and then hey, drop this pattern and then see something else. That mind, I mean, it's painful to see even that past for someone. Hey, all this. So what could happen? I mean, you could engage into another relationship, and then the same rut again, and you will go through the same thing if you continue the same pattern. Or you are doing something different, but still there is a different pattern. You're not in relationship. You think that you are free now because you're not engaging all those things that in the relationship that your mind was engaged in. But there is different pattern you created here. There is that you are not aware, right? But that is unknown for some time. Maybe at the age of 30 to 40, you are experiencing that. But at the 40 to 50 again, you feel like, okay, so I'm missing something, right? So this continues. I mean, this is art of that living. Even though I know I have the experience of that painful, sorrowful, burdened relationship, that I know that state, how it feels, how I'm looking at that mindset, anything with that filter. I also know the state where I'm free, unburdened with anything. Still not able to, get that lightness in my life, right? I still hold on to it. It's so strong, deep rooted. It comes into being. So I don't know, instantly it's stop and then, can just be something else. Is that beyond me we are talking about?
Yeah, I think this is interesting that the mind projects an ideal state of living, a peaceful state of living, and whatever it
Lost him?
Looks like yes.
Yeah, we'll give it a couple of minutes. Yeah, there you go. I think he's going to come back in. We can continue the dialogue while we wait as well.
It looks like we are trained so heavily to dependent on thinking. It keeps on coming back. Even when I think even telling the mind to be in silence is also the communication is in thinking.
When Tony was talking, when I heard, there you go. I think Mukesh is back. When welcome back, Mukesh. We lost you for a while.
Yeah, please continue. Sorry, my internet was suddenly disconnected.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you were saying something, and we were just talking meanwhile.
So this projection of an ideal state is again, it's a projection of the thought, finding a final solution of something. So again, like, depending on thought to solve the problem of my life, this dependence on thought to solve all my problems, I feel that needs to be questioned, that needs to be observed. Is it possible? I am wondering, is it possible to stop when we are in such a great rush all the time? And in great rush, we are trying to resolve our problems, trying to understand the teachings, trying to understand ourselves. But perhaps we are somehow missing this point that the first step is to really slow down, to let go of this rushing and come in contact with this inner stillness. And when the mind is quiet, even a little bit quiet, I think we must have seen that it starts to listen more, observe more.
Looks like we lost Mukesh again. I think Hiranandani wants to say something. You're muted, sir.
My boat.
Oh.
Yes, I think what Mukesh said just now leads me to think or believe that there are two states of functioning. One is with thought and memory, and another is without thought and memory. Now, again, this is probably putting it in time, but the functioning without thought and memory is awareness, and that dimension of psychology we do not seem to have at present. Thank you.
It looks like your connection is back, Mukesh. We're able to see.
Actually, this is an old monastery, and the internet is is quite ancient, it looks. So
most of the time we are able to see and listen to you fine.
Okay, thank you. So what is that insight that really makes one pause, really pause? Perhaps deep down, we all know this, a deep knowing that, okay, there is a deep need to really let go of this rushing. But somehow the habit is so strong that we ignore that call. There is an inner call to really, really deeply rest, pause, and stop. So, what is it that in me which is not paying attention to that call, not listening to that call?
That brings to what I was going to say with regard to my reaction when Tony was mentioning about being comfortable in a relationship that works most of the time. So I wonder, I think sometimes just Mukesh was mentioning that deep yearning to know is there, but I'm not, my usual life does not, that's all I know. That is all the comfort. That's everything I know. What is beyond that, in Kay, in some of his talks about, or other people, joy or love, I don't have access to that to understand what I'm missing, perhaps. I'm comfortable in the known. That's just I want to share. And when I see the wars and the conflicts, sometimes that's very uncomfortable. And a lot of times I even turn away. It is remote. The suffering is, at this point, is remote. It's elsewhere.
the word which is in my mind for the last few minutes is the word curiosity. And I really think we lack this curiosity, and in particular, this curiosity for the moment. I mean, like, if there would be curiosity for the moment, I mean, why would I even think? Why would I even, like, go back to my memory and start a thought? Or if there's curiosity for the what is for the moment, I mean, then why would I even worry about what should be? And in a way, I think, like, curiosity for the moment is just exactly the same thing as silence, but maybe a bit more proactive, basically. So to rest or to stop is maybe not all that different than being curious in the moment. So, and yeah, that is something which I never really thought about, like, but it's true. I mean, like, when in a relationship, I mean, I listen, but am I really curious what the other person is saying? I mean, deeply curious, or am I more interested in, I mean, recalling my images from the past and stuff like that? So I just wanted to share that.
Andreas, what you said is really interesting. To see that curiosity comes from silence, or stillness is a new one. I did not look into that so far.
I would suggest that curiosity is not silence, but it's an action of thought.
Even the deep curiousness which the baby has. Babies are very curious even before they learn talking and understanding the language. Very curious to see, to learn.
Maybe when we're learning about each other, like a baby might be learning about itself or a toy or whatever, when we're just learning about each other, then there's an innocence there. That curiosity is an innocence or a compassion to just be with another, whatever they might be going through, to learn about them just by listening. We're learning about ourselves in a way, everything being a mirror. What they might be what we might be noticing in them might be triggering something in us. So it's maybe a deeper sense of really looking and listening, seeing.
I see
Yeah,
it when we're older, I see curiosity as a form of pleasure.
Means curiosity that comes through thought to becomes pleasure.
The origin of curiosity is seeking pleasure.
Maybe
For example, going to an anthropology museum or a science museum or natural history museum, not art, but the sciences, I would think one is seeking pleasure. And you're curious about the science, but to me it's seeking pleasure. Just my own opinion.
maybe curiosity gets distorted by thought. As we get older, we think more, and that curiosity becomes encrusted with these distortions that a child may not have that sense that we do as adults. That we're just goofing off by being curious.
Goofing off.
And when we are like surrounded by this, the chattering of the network of chattering and thoughts going on, and we don't slow down, so we try to get it done through doing, going somewhere, watching, talking. So we try to get that satisfaction of doing something. Even attending Krishnamurti talks or dialogues, doing by thinking that we are doing something, but really not completely addressing.
yeah. I think for me, be curious is also a way of saying that, yeah, I mean, what we have is thought, but to be effective in that, or just kind of engaging the thought, to kind of invite the thought to say, don't you want to see what is true? Don't you want to be free to observe? It is just a way of putting that, so that, yeah, the thought kind of sees that limitation of itself.
So, what is this curiosity about understanding oneself, understanding life, not intellectual understanding, but really deeply being in contact with the essence of life, the essence of one's presence? What is that deep curiosity, a deep wonder? Another word is wonder. Isn't it so human, natural, this sense of wonder? And of course, there can be a great joy in it. and also seeing mind's incapability to grasp it in a concrete way, because it is so subtle that perhaps it can't be grasped through thought process. And perhaps all the sciences, art, is an attempt to grasp something which is ungraspable, which is immeasurable. But this attempt is interesting. This whole humanity has been attempting something, and this brings the play of life, the art, music, and all that. Perhaps it is an effort to understand the immeasurable, to comprehend where we are, what are we doing. But there can be, seeing all the efforts or all the endeavors of human brain, there may be a moment when there is complete silence. There is no endeavor, no effort, no searching, no seeking. What is that moment when all search comes to an end? There is no urge to search anything. Perhaps that is also very true. To be in that state of deep effortlessness, there is no doing, no acting from that field of conditioning. Perhaps there is just an observation of whatever is happening.
And I feel it's a great shift if you look at those moments, and if you are in those moments and just stay in that moment and just let it unfold. There's something else taking place then. There's not this sense making.
So, friends, it may be interesting that I share the last paragraph of the reading material as we are coming to the end of the dialogue. Is that okay? I read it and then we sit for a moment in silence and then end the session. That which is immeasurable cannot be measured by words. We are always trying to put the immeasurable into a frame of words, and the symbol is not the actual. But we worship the symbol. Therefore, we always live in a limited state. So, with the clouds hanging on the treetops and all the birds quiet, waiting for the thunderstorm, this is a good morning to be serious, to question the whole of existence, to question the very gods and all human activity. Our lives are so short, and during that short period, there is nothing to learn about the whole field of the psyche, which is the movement of memory. We can only observe it. Observe without any movement of thought. Observe without time, without past knowledge. without the observer, who is the essence of the past. Just watch. Watch those clouds shaping and reshaping. Watch the trees, the little birds. It is all part of life. When you watch attentively with diligence, there is nothing to learn. There is only the vast space, silence, and emptiness.
Could you please post that paragraph in chatting, please, if possible?
Thank you. So, Prasadji, is there any announcement?
So no, I think so. We are going to be having our final session next week, and you have posted something in the chat, a PDF. I will send an email to everybody in case people have missed downloading that.
Thank you. So then see you next week.
Can I
Okay.
say something?
Keep well. Yeah. Yes, please.
The thing is, thank you for this dialogue. It's very interesting how each one or each mind looks at the essential principle of the ground of silence in a very different way. And it gives a different perspective and then makes us wonder about, where we stand and understanding this eternal ground from where everything is arising and happening. So yeah, it was very, very helpful. And whenever we learn, like through curiosity, the other thing is that curiosity sometimes turns into the egoistic knowledge. Oh, I acquired something. Oh, I know something. So in that perspective, it gives a perspective and resolution saying that, okay, when I'm curious, just be it and then find out and then don't make it a knowledge and then store it and make it an egoistic. Oh, I know something. So anyway, it was really a very helpful dialogue. I thank everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll see you all next week.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thank you, Bhakti.